Death of Superman Lives, What Happened is a 2015 documentary by Jon Schnepp. The synopsis is a behind-the-scenes look at the 1996 pre-production of Superman Lives, an intended reboot of the Superman film series based on a 1992 DC comic, The Death of Superman. It was cancelled only 3 weeks before filming was set to begin in April 1998. I knew about this film. I knew about this Superman Lives film, and I'm sure anyone who's watched An Evening with Kevin Smith probably knows about this too.
Now, back in like 96, 97, at one point I was commissioned by Warner Brothers to write a script for a new Superman movie. And how it came about, I think, was that somebody saw Mallrats, somebody at Warner Brothers, some studio exec, and was just like, watched Brody and T.S. talk about the kryptonite condom. And they were like, this guy seems to know a lot about Superman.
And it was through that, through An Evening with Kevin Smith, that I was so intrigued by it, but it was just a story on an old DVD, Kevin Smith DVD, never thought anything more of it. The first rule that every documentary should follow is be completely neutral, and let the viewer make up their own mind. I'm still conflicted as to really whose fault it was that it didn't take off, and maybe it was just it could have just been a series of events, like almost fate, that this would never get made. The storytelling's great, the pacing's great, there's a proper thread. We get to some of the imagery that we get to see, some of the behind the scenes sketches and drawings, and the script and set pieces are brilliant. I mean, this was going to be crazy. In case you have no idea or have never heard of Superman Lives, it was a film in the mid-90s that was going to come out when Nicolas Cage would have been Superman. I think there was a photo went round for a while on the internet, like saying, oh, thank God this didn't happen. But after watching this documentary, I'm so intrigued. I wish it had been made. It would have been fantastic. This guy interviews everyone. He interviews Tim Burton. He interviews John Peters, the producer, who comes off almost. I don't know how he comes off in this, really. Again, it's all just down to your opinion and how you absorb the information. Jon Schnepp is very good at keeping himself behind the camera, which is a weird thing to say because he's actually clearly on camera interviewing people. But he doesn't say too many words. He just lets everyone else do the talking and lets them tell the story. And it's a hard story to tell. And even when he's talking to people, he finds the consistencies where the stories cross over, and you get to see it from everyone's point of view. Why it didn't happen, why this did happen, how they came to get Nicolas Cage, why this set piece would have looked like that. And it's just fascinating. We live in an age now where everyone likes to cross over films. They like to be all interwoven and connected. As comic fans, we've finally got what we want, where they're really sticking to the source material. We used to hate it when films deviated away from the source material, or TV shows deviated away from the source material, because we didn't see what the problem was. It's perfect as it is. Why change it? It's stuff like this where you do wonder, God, I kind of miss the differences now, the changes. I mean, the best example I can think of is Spider-Man. Spider-Man, when that came out, the old Tobey Maguire ones, he can fire webbing from his wrists because of the spider bite. It changes his biological pattern, which is true to the comic. It changes biological pattern, but that part isn't true. In the comic, Peter has to make these web shooters and the material inside of them. And a lot of people, when they came out of the cinema, went, that made more sense. That made more sense. Why is it not like that in the comics? This could have become a cult classic, this film. This could easily be one of the best, almost Elseworld stories ever. Chris and I have always said we wish Edgar Wright had been kept on to do Ant-Man, but he was kicked off because he didn't want to do an Ant-Man film set in the Marvel Universe. He didn't want to be restricted by the fact he had to stick to source material and he had to stick to other storylines. He wanted to make his own Ant-Man. I think that they should start bringing this back. We should have almost Elseworld movies, Elseworld storylines, because it's movies like this Superman Lives, which, we'd be loving right now. Everyone in it is great. Kevin Smith is fantastic, talking about it. He talks to nearly everyone. The only person he doesn't speak to is Nicolas Cage, but there is a bit at the end with a lot of audio from Nicolas Cage talking about it. So I don't know if he's managed to get that from somewhere or he got it himself and he only managed to get audio. But you hear it from everyone's point of view. I can't stress that enough. I mean, if you've got any interest in movies, if you've got any interest in behind the scenes, if you've got any interest in comics, if you've got any interest in Superman, this is for you. He's a really good character, and I think Tim Burton would have captured that. And that's what this documentary goes to show. It starts off with that terrible picture of Nicolas Cage and wants to show you, make you look at that picture differently, makes you, rather than go, oh my God, can you imagine Nicolas Cage as Superman? By the end of this documentary, you're going, oh, can you imagine Nicolas Cage as Superman? Jon Schnepp has decided to try and remake some scenes because he's managed to get hold of the script. And of course, it was only 3 weeks for production, so there was also set pieces and sketches. So he's tried to remake some of the bits from the film, and I appreciate it all. It's a feast for the eyes, as Chris would say. Jon Schnepp got this documentary going for a Kickstarter campaign, which I did put some money towards too. So I got it really quite cheap. If you want to watch it, it's over on TDOS. LWH, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened.com. The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. I'm giving $5.
Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott!
Is there any documentaries you want me to watch in particular? Feel free to hit me up at ProJub on Twitter with any recommendations. Other than that, you know what to do. Rate, like, subscribe, leave comments down below, and go over to www.talknerdy.uk. Peace!